Good afternoon, distinguished guests, graduates, family and friends. Welcome to Bond University's graduation. Please take time to note the nearest fire exit to you. They are located in each corner of the theatre. In the unlikely event of an emergency, please follow the directions of university staff. As today is a very special occasion for each of the graduates, please turn your devices to silent and remain in your seats for the duration of the ceremony. For those who are unable to join us in person today, a live stream of this ceremony is available from the Bond University graduation website and YouTube channel. Graduates, I will now take you through the ceremony protocols for the presentation of awards. When directed by staff, please proceed in your order of seating and line up along the stairs to my right. When your name is announced, proceed to the table at my left and take your testama, and then proceed to the far side of the stage to have your photo taken with the presiding officer. Once your photo has been taken, proceed up the middle aisle to my left and around the rear side of the theatre and follow directions of university staff back to your original seat. The formal proceedings will commence shortly, but first, please enjoy a short presentation celebrating 30 years of Bond University.
Today, as of this moment, vision has become reality. The way is now ahead. From sandstone and a strong, unwavering vision, an institution was built to offer a student experience without peer. A university created to redefine the landscape, setting new heights for global education. In our first 30 years, almost 30,000 alumni have passed through our doors.
All our graduates, please stand. Be successful, have great careers, and never forget Bond University.
With an unbreakable bond to the international networks and experiences that position them for success. Together, we have built a legacy. A legacy that continues to evolve today.
Bond University will take its place among the great universities.
As we strive for and reach new horizons in personalized learning, we continue to deliver a truly remarkable global student experience.
To my fellow graduates, thank you for your friendship. Please cherish the memories and friends, but continue making new ones. Goodbye and good luck.
Since 1989, Bond University has forged the way in law, business, society and design, health sciences and medicine, and sport. Led by great minds.
Bond University will become a magnificent jewel in the crown of Australian tertiary education.
With an even greater vision for the next 30 years and beyond. It's because of those who came before us that our future is limitless.
Please stand for the Academic Procession.
Please be seated. Graduates, family, friends, supporters, my university colleagues, our special guests, our dignitaries, welcome all to this wonderful occasion, a graduation ceremony for graduates from the Bond Business School. Will you please join me in thanking our piper, Pipe Major Nick Tompkins. In addition to being an outstanding piper, Nick is a Bond graduate. He graduated here in 2014, not majoring the pipes, rather. He majored in Commerce and Law, completing a dual program of Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Laws. Pipe Major Nick Tompkins, thank you very much. As I commence formal proceedings, let me acknowledge on behalf of us all, the people of the Yugambeh language, on whose ancestral lands our university now stands. I pay my respects to their leaders and elders, past, present and emerging. I do so in the spirit of reconciliation. Well, thank you all for coming. Graduation ceremonies are always a wonderful event, a culmination of several years of dedicated effort, hard work, long hours, overcoming personal challenges in many circumstances, tears, friendships, the highs, the lows, and in essence it comes down to this moment. It is unfortunate, however, that in this moment we are unable to share it with so many of your friends and fellow graduates. As I think everyone would be aware, when the pandemic first hit our shores last year, many of our international students had good reason and felt compelled to return home. And they did so, expecting to be home for maybe a semester, but alas, they have completed their degrees in several cases remotely. And indeed, in these graduation sessions, we have students who are located in 15 different countries who effectively are graduating today, but unfortunately cannot be here. Furthermore, I'm sure we're all aware that our Victorian friends and fellow classmates are unable to be here as well. And that includes our valedictorian, Mr. James Menther. And most recently, the size of our ceremony has been reduced over the last 48 hours by events down in Greater Sydney. And among those includes our Chancellor, the Honourable Dr. Annabelle Bennett. The Chancellor would have normally been here, but she lives in Woollahra, and dare I say any more. And so we have today a somewhat reduced ceremony, but I should point out that we are live streaming. So there are two cameras, one to your back right and one to your back left. Those two cameras are live streaming this ceremony. Moreover, this ceremony will be recorded and will be available for graduates to watch, particularly given the considerations of the global time zones in which we live. But it would be very much, I think, appropriate for us all to acknowledge those fellow graduates who are unable to be here. And so I don't want to create a big fuss. No need to stand up, but particularly for our graduates, if you wanted to turn around and give all of your classmates a wave who are watching today. So good day, everyone. Thank you all for coming. As I said, graduations are special days and they're often celebrated with family. Many of you in the audience today will have children, perhaps grandchildren, perhaps partners who are graduating, and I know that you will be especially proud. And in that context, will you allow me to acknowledge Dr. Suhail Abedian, AM, Dr. Abedian is joined by his family for the graduation of their grandson. But Sahel is also a great friend of the university. He is patron of the Abedian School of Architecture. I acknowledge and congratulate him as he was recently made a member of the Order of Australia for significant service to the community and to the property development sector. Congratulations, Dr. Abedian. But interestingly, his grandson is a second-generation Bondi because both his parents are here in the audience today as well. And just to make it a triple, Sahel's nephew is also graduating. So very much a family affair. So to the wider Abedian family, thank you all for your ongoing contributions and support of this institution. When we look around ourselves today, we sense that COVID has impacted almost and it invades almost every space of our lives. Certainly here in Australia, on this great island continent, we have been spared considerably the worst of the health endemic. But nonetheless, it's almost impossible not to go about your daily life without being constantly reminded of the threat of the virus or its impact. And so this ceremony can only take place under certain health directives and approvals. So it's a COVID-safe ceremony. So in that sense, I ask our graduates to acknowledge that. And while it is such a natural thing to reach out and want to shake hands and to hug and kiss, particularly someone like me, please resist that temptation, and that allows us to conduct the event, as I say, under a COVID-safe plan. But let us not dwell on COVID, because today and this afternoon is all about these fantastic people who are here in front of us. You each have a copy of the program where you can follow the list of graduates, and I trust that you enjoy the ceremony. And for our audience, this is an opportunity for you to respect and acknowledge each and every one of their achievements. So certainly as they come across to accept their testama, don't hold back on your applause or cheering. Let them know how proud you are of their achievements. To our graduates, despite the many distractions of this wonderful place and the grounds and the magnificence of the buildings, you'll be aware that the lure of Don's on a Thursday evening always beckons. And so after the ceremony, you are more than welcome to take your guests over to Don's and share a beverage and some food on the Vice-Chancellor, so to say. I appreciate that it has not been an easy time for any of you. When you first enrolled in this university, you didn't quite know what to expect. And to be honest, no one could have predicted last year. But here we are, and you have succeeded despite the many challenges. On behalf of the university, my sincerest congratulations. So we're now going to move to the formal presentation of testamas, and I look forward to the presentation of each individual graduate. And I will now turn over to the Executive Dean of the Bond Business School, who will present his graduates individually. Will you please give a warm welcome to Professor Terry O'Neill.
Thank you, Vice-Chancellor. Vice-Chancellor, the following candidate is presented for the award of a research doctorate for the degree of Doctorate of Philosophy. The thesis title is Quantifying Advertising Media Effectiveness, Insights from Data-Driven Modelling. This thesis provides insights into how consumers and business activity data can be leveraged to help organisations run better. It uses data analytics techniques to develop a methodology that companies can use to measure advertising ROI across online and offline media channels. It provides tools to better understand the effects of advertising and optimise marketing resources. Additionally, it shows how advertising and calendar data can be used to produce more accurate demand and sales forecasts. This can improve managerial decision-making across a variety of business functions and industries. Mark Johnman. Vice-Chancellor, I present graduates from the Bond Business School. Candice Del-Ahunti. Patrick Andrew Carter. Bella Marie Danieli. Georgia Rose Lunny. Moiz Murad. Pierce Boyd Wilding. Timothy Zhu. Lucy Kate Andrews. Liam Roland Anthony Benari. Chad Terence Blankenship. Briley Claridadis. Daniel Glenn Coleman. Alessandra Louise Colombini. Lauren Jane Evans. Che Marie Knight. Hannah Kate Nagel. Dylan Nunn. Grace Margaret Riley. Frederick Melly Wagaya. Uwin Zhang. Ryan Ason Abedian. Harrison Timothy Bishop. Justin Anthony Brunskill. Benjamin Glenn Fisk. Dane John Glenn. Maxwell Peter Champion Hackett. James Finlay Mahoney. Tina Sylvia Patton. Jordan Jack Penny. Emma Maria Troedson. Alexander Paul Crow. Anthony Grafton McCoy. Matthew William Price. Katrina Jane Ellery. Garen Lionel Simpson. Miriam Kuzpecki. Fletcher Bertram Hastings Stevens. Jeff Huang. Ty Douglas Laird. Shule Zhou. Miranda Antonieta Vargas Cabrera. Conrad Jason Viltold Arthur Davies. Sabrina Shanoa Lynch. Rohan Rezvani Poor. James Thompson. Tanya Taimo Oli. Aaron Spear. Vice-Chancellor, the valedictorian has been selected to give the valedictory address on behalf of the graduating cohort this afternoon. He was placed on the Vice-Chancellor's list for academic excellence in every semester of his program and achieved first in class in 13 subjects. He has achieved a cumulative GPA of 3.81 out of a possible 4 and a cumulative percentage average of 86, an extraordinary overall performance. He is unable to be with us this afternoon due to COVID-related travel restrictions. However, he has recorded his valedictory address. Graduating with a Bachelor of Commerce, James Ryan Thomas Menta.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would first and foremost like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the various lands upon which we meet today and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I would also like to congratulate each and every graduate who is there at Bond in person or is tuning in from across Australia and the world on the achievement of something incredibly special, something that we have come together this afternoon to celebrate with great ceremony, and something that's gravity is immense to an extent that I would now like to explore and reflect upon with you all. To do so, I'd like to take you, if I may, to a place that is not too far from where we sit here in Australia, but is in so many ways infinitely distant. When I was in year 11 of high school here in Victoria, I had the fortune of taking part in an expedition to walk the Kokoda Trail in Papua New Guinea, a place that, for those of you who don't know, saw some of the most treacherous fighting of the Second World War when Australian soldiers went north to halt the advance of invading forces. Papua New Guinea was unlike any place I've had the privilege of visiting in the world. Its remoteness and unforgiving terrain veils a landscape that is rich with life and colour. And I want to take you to a moment in time that I experienced on that journey where we had just stopped to rest for a lunch break in a village that, if I was to get you to think of the middle of nowhere, then this place would be a stone's throw from it. This village had no electricity or hot running water, and I remember it being perched on the side of a steep hill where at the top it had this most amazing sight. 2 portable modular classrooms sat side by side, connected by a wooden landing with steps leading up to them from where I was standing. I remember climbing to the landing and looking into these classrooms and seeing something that has stayed with me ever since. In this place, a village more remote than I could ever describe, stood these classrooms where not a speck of dust or dirt could be seen on a windowsill or the floor. I remember there not being a single piece of paper not filed on a shelf, or a chair not pushed in, or a scribble of graffiti on a desk. In this place, I remember looking at the chalkboard slated clean and seeing that on the railing at its base, a single piece of chalk, half the size of my pinky, sat awaiting in solitude. I stood there on the landing next to a letterbox where passers-by would leave scraps of paper, half-broken pencils, chalk, if they had any, and small coins from where the villagers who lived in a scattering of a dozen elevated huts would leave what they had surplus, should they ever have the luxury to do so. In that moment, that sits in my mind clearer than the very moment we share now, I looked into those classrooms and saw something more precious than I could have ever conceived from my lived experience of 17 years to that moment. I saw the absolute reverence with which we should approach an education, and as has become more apparent to me as I've matured since that very day, the indivisible value of an opportunity to learn. My journey to arrive at Bond is not one that is likely to be considered traditional. Various circumstances during my final year of high school eventuated in me failing to achieve the adequate scores that would allow me to move into the university's bachelor program directly. Accordingly, alike to some of you that are graduating today, Bond gave me a most graciously received opportunity to take a pathway through the diploma program run by Bond University College, a lifeline to a young man who doubted his own academic ability more than anyone, but was offered by an organisation that saw the potential and not the circumstances. In reflecting on my journey to be where I am today, and on the story that I've been able to share with you this afternoon, maybe the greatest learning that I can take away from the past 2 years I've spent in pursuit of this very occasion is that the opportunity to learn transcends our circumstances where it is offered, in that whilst it may present an unknown and often daunting path, it does so with the ceiling of unlimited potential. To that end, there are so many people for me to thank for allowing my journey through Bond to be a reality, more than I could ever name and do justice to this afternoon. So whilst you know who you are, and I speak today as the grateful product of your hard work, support, and unwavering belief, it would be remiss of me not to thank my parents and family for never pushing me in a way that is overreaching, but for understanding better than anyone what is possible, and for giving me the time and space to grow into that potential. I must also thank Bond and the teachers that it has provided me and each graduate for being the custodians of the ambition that all of us have shared to be where we are this afternoon. The way so many of you gave your time, imparted your wisdom, and facilitated our experiences speaks to the unequivocal truth that it takes a village, a community, to make our pursuits merely the platform upon which our future growth is fostered. The responsibility of the opportunity we have taken and now given ourselves moving forward as a result speaks to the gravity of the receipt that each of us will leave with today. It is the receipt of an unknown and unlimited potential that, regardless of the circumstances with which we first embarked on the journey of its pursuit, holds reverence in the hands of those that earned it and use it as the key to whatever comes next. In thinking back to that distant village and the picture of those 2 classrooms sat harnessed together on top of that hill, the opportunity to learn that Bond offered me, and invariably each of us graduating today, places us in the fortunate position that we can not just aspire to achieve great things, but attain them with thanks to the meritocracy woven into the fabric of Bond as an institution of education. That is the gravity of the receipt we will all hold. That is its potential. That is your potential. Regardless of our circumstances, we have all arrived here today, to this very moment, to celebrate what we have done and also turn a page to the future endeavours that await each of us. So I'll leave you today with the reminder that no matter where the path leads to from here, be like the people of that distant village in a world away from where we sit today. Remember to detach the potential from the circumstances, and whether it be through what you can leave in a letterbox or any other means, pay the opportunity to learn forward, should you ever have the luxury to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, James. That was quite wonderful. It was inspirational, insightful and aspirational. And too many times, I think, over the course of the last 12 months or so, we've said, if only if. Well, through the miracle of technology, James, you are certainly here with us, and your presence is very much felt. So again, to our graduates, James is just there behind you watching. James, to you, I know that you're sitting there with your parents, I believe. Congratulations on an outstanding academic record here. Your achievements speak for themselves, but in particular, thank you for your words of wisdom beyond your years. Ladies and gentlemen, we again join with me in thanking James Mentha. To our graduates, you are now joining a very proud and diverse alumni community. When this university was first established, we saw ourselves very much as being a university that was going, and determinedly so, to connect with the globe. We saw ourselves as an international university, a university which would be a destination for enthusiastic learners from each and every continent. We saw ourselves as having global industry connections. We saw ourselves as hiring academics from all places. We saw ourselves as sending our students on exchange so they could learn in different places, in different cultures, and mature. We still see ourselves as such. And we have now 30,000 alumni who are spread to all corners of the globe, and many of them are still over there. And I don't know when, and the number of times that I've had students or parents ring me up and say, "Vice-Chancellor, can you tell us when we can travel again?" I don't possess such wisdom or foresight. But when that happens, I encourage you all to continue in the tradition of a global bondi. And no matter where you go, I'm sure that you will run into a Bond alumni from a previous generation. You now have an opportunity to uphold that tradition, to ensure that in Australia we remain connected to a global world, because the solutions to many of our problems are not going to be solved, or certainly not executed, by this country alone. We must embrace the global community, and we must continue to do so. We're always looking for ways to involve alumni in the life of our institution, and many of you will have been the recipients, the beneficiaries of alumni mentoring, perhaps some internships provided by former students, perhaps some advice. But like those alumni that have preceded you, you now have that same opportunity over the ensuing years to give something back. We understand how significant a commitment to a Bond degree is. We are Australia's only genuinely private and independent institution, and we're extraordinarily proud of that. But with that comes a price, and the price is that we do not receive any government funding for our students' education. We are a self-funding institution. And even as a non-profit institution, that means that we are reliant ostensibly on students to pay their tuition. That is our lot in life. And for many of you, you will have been on the receiving end of financial support from some people in this room here. You will have been a recipient of perhaps the generosity of a benefactor or a donor that you have never met. Perhaps you have been the beneficiary of the warmth and the love of your family, who've enabled you in many ways to provide a platform in those harder times when you thought the going was really tough. Your journey here today to this pinnacle is a journey that you haven't undertaken alone. And I ask you all to take a moment to reflect on that journey and to think, just as our valedictorian has done, to think about those around you that have supported you in so many and different ways. Some of those may be in the audience here, but I suspect in many cases they're not physically present on the university campus today. And so those from my generation still believe that that mobile device that you carry everywhere and sleep with actually has a fundamental purpose called a telephone. So let me tell you from personal experience, if you want to reach out and say thank you, use the phone. Don't text, don't email, don't Facebook, don't Instagram. If you really want to send a personal message, I'm sure that there are many in your lives who would love to hear the sound of your voice at some stage this afternoon. Doesn't have to be long, just take the moment to say thank you, how you doing? To be a Bond graduate carries with it much responsibility, and part of that responsibility is to always remain humble. As our valedictorian mentioned in his address, it is amazing where you will find in all walks of life great examples of humility and also respect. And while you have been imbued with a great education in terms of your particular disciplines, we also believe here at Bond that we live values, and part of those values are embedded within our graduates, and those values include humility and respect. And so while you should be immensely proud of what you have achieved, recognise that this is only the beginning and not the end. And if you thought the last few years were tough, I've got to tell you folks, there'll be tougher years ahead. And when you run into those tougher years, I trust that there is part of you that reaches back inside to your days at this institution, to the great friends that you've made, to the networks of supporters and mentors, perhaps to some of the academic staff who you have forged close relationships with. And perhaps it's just to the place and the time. And even despite the craziness of the current world in which we live, this is a special place and a special time. And so your connectedness back to this place and time is there forever, and no one can remove it. Remember that as you go forward. We are always here for you. I trust that you are always here for us as well. Ladies and gentlemen, at graduation ceremonies, and we are a university while relatively young, we are still steeped in tradition, and on graduation days we like to put on some fancy dress. And at the end of each ceremony, the Vice-Chancellor, as my predecessors have done before, reads out the charge to the graduates. This is essentially an oath, if you like. It's a statement of the values of the institution and what we expect from the graduates going forward. And after I've read out the charge, the graduates are then asked as to whether or not they want to accept. And those that wish not to accept, they hand their degrees back to Brad down here at the front, and we say goodbye. No, seriously, folks, so this is the last formal bit of the ceremony. So graduates, will you please be upstanding? That includes all of you watching on the live stream. I charge you as graduates of Bond University to demonstrate at all times the highest moral and ethical standards, to apply your learnings and education to the benefit of society, to pursue the highest standards in all your endeavours with excellence always your aim, and to support forever and enhance the reputation of your university through engagement as proud alumni. Graduates, do you accept that charge? What do you reckon, Brad? I reckon you better start walking up the aisle there. Let's try again. Graduates, do you accept that charge? Yes. That's better. Please be seated. That now concludes the formal part of this afternoon's ceremony. Shortly the official party will depart the room. Again, a reminder to our graduates, I think it might still be just enough daylight to take some wonderful snaps with your family and friends as you walk around campus. Please drop past the alumni office at the bottom of the arch building there, building 1A. I think there's a little gift for you if you want to drop in there, and there's a nice photo opportunity as well with the Bond alumni sign. And then, as I say, you're all very much welcome to go over to Don's and enjoy one on me, so to speak. Thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate the opportunity cost of your time. I'm sure our graduates have appreciated your attention and your devotion to them. On behalf of them, thank you very much. I hope that you've enjoyed the ceremony and that you have a wonderful afternoon and evening. I suspect a number of you might be going out. Behave yourselves. And there is one final opportunity now, which is to really make a bit of noise because we're about to leave. So let's really try and raise the roof and say congratulations to our graduating class. These are good days. Remember them fondly. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please be upstanding for the departure of the academic procession?